Hey there, Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 81 of our BU 365-day challenge to do one thing every day that improves us in some way, shape, or form. This month, this segment, we're talking about mental well-being, all the different aspects of our thinking, our thoughts, our beliefs, and how they impact other areas and aspects of our life. We'll talk about that in a couple of days, how can they impact it. But this is such a central thing to who we are. Today we're going to talk about your identity, my identity, the components of things that make up our identity. And the fact is, we can choose our identity. We can create the identity that we want to have. We can decide who we're going to be as we show up in the world by using two main components: continuity and contrast. Continuity meaning when people see us over time, are we the same person? Do they know what to expect from us? And contrast is, as the world changes, do we change, and do we identify differently with different things? So I'm just gonna read some lists of things that I thought were really interesting, things that make up our identity. And keep in mind that, and this was really interesting to me, scientists have done studies and they found that people's identity has as many as an average of 700 to 750 different components to it, and people would describe themselves in like 700 or 750 different ways depending on the situation that we find ourselves in, right? Sometimes we're very professional and very astute. Other times we're carefree and fun-loving or adventurous. It depends on the environment, the situation, the experience that we're currently having. So what are some of the things that make up our identity? Well, one, first and foremost, is our personality traits. Do we have a great sense of humor? Do we tell jokes? Do we build up or do we criticize people? What are our personality traits? Are we outgoing, gregarious, and energetic, or are we introverted and shy and standoffish? Are we what makes up our personality? Our likes and our dislikes. Likes and dislikes is another component of our identity. The things that we like make us who we are. The things we don't like make us who we are. How about the things that motivate you, the things that motivate me? What motivates me is different than the things that motivate you, but it's the things that motivate us that make up part of our identity. Working and hard work and business motivates me. To a lot of other people, they're like, hey, I'm going to work just to get enough money to do the things that I really want to do in my life. Looks and expressions that you use are part of your identity. I am one of those people, and so is my daughter. Poor thing got it from me, that you know how we're feeling just by looking at our face. It's very hard for us to fake what we're feeling. If somebody is shocking and awing us, or somebody's being ridiculous, it usually shows on our face in some way, shape, or form. Our abilities contribute to our identity. Things that we're good at or that come naturally for us contribute to our identity. Our belief systems, your belief system is part of your identity. Your moral code, things, where do you draw that line in the sand? Things you believe in, things you don't believe in. Behaviors you will tolerate in yourself, behaviors you will not tolerate in yourself or other people. And there's different types of identity. Oh, I wanted to say, and I'm not sure I said it or not because I've got a cold and my head is fuzzy. What we show to the world at any given time is only a minute part of our identity. That's thus the 750 different components on average to our identity. It's like the iceberg principle. If you've ever seen those pictures with the iceberg, and the iceberg principle is applied to all different things, where a little bit is showing above the water and there's a whole lot going on underneath. Any one of these parts of our personality are like that. Parts of our identity are like that. Think personality, for example. The personality that we show is just a little bit above the water, depending on the situation we're in. But all the parts of our personality and all the components of our personality are existing underneath the surface of the water. So, building a strong sense of self and identity. How do we go about doing that? Self-confidence comes into play. How willing are we to be ourselves in any given situation, no matter what other people are saying or thinking or doing? And this list and the next one I found pretty interesting because they had a lot to do with the impact of other people on our identity and on our personality. And the stronger our sense of self, the less we are molded and influenced by people outside of us. Now, I will admit that when I was younger, I was completely and totally molded by my environment, the people that I hung around with, my friends, my family, my relatives. They totally determined who I was and my identity, and how, you know, how I fit in the family pecking order with my sisters. A lot of that was tied up in other people's thoughts and feelings and beliefs about me and their expectations of me. And as I got older, probably wasn't even until I hit my 40s and 50s that I said, no, I get to decide. And I gave myself a permission to decide, which I had all along. I just didn't realize that we all have that personal power. What parts of me make me feel the best, and am I going to identify with and therefore display, versus what other people's expectations of me are. So let's just look at this list. Define your values. Our personal beliefs and values help to set the direction for our behavior, right? How we think and feel and respond in different situations is determined by our personal values, our core values. We're going to talk, I think, about core values tomorrow for in the area of mental well-being. Make your own choices. Should primarily be things that benefit you in terms of your health or well-being. I mean, our choices that should be things that benefit us, but they aren't always, right? Think of addictions, or think of things that we do to undermine ourselves. A lot of times those are tied to our identity, because we've adopted other people's beliefs that we can or cannot do something, mostly can't do something, and so we find ways to numb ourselves from that. Spend time alone. 4, consider how to achieve your ideals. How are you going to achieve your goals and objectives? You do that by spending time alone, or reading, or learning, or studying, or becoming a better human being. And then 5, know when you need to ask for help for something with respect to your identity. You know, if you're having an identity crisis, they say, you know, midlife crisis is kind of like an identity crisis when you get to be in your like 40s usually, maybe a little older for women, and you're like, oh my God, is this all there is to life? And you start to question your identity and the choices that you've made throughout your life. Now, other people will decide our identity based on things like gender, social class, age, sexual orientation, race and ethnicity, religion, and ability or disability. You know, they're trying to be politically correct, so they call disabilities abilities. Now, I'm legally blind, so for all practical purposes, have a disability. But I just think that it's a way of finding different ways of doing things. It doesn't have to be something that limits us. It just means we have to do things differently. So we can look at things that we own, our possessions, our personal values, and our moral standards, our popularity with other people, being part of many generations of a family, my dreams and imagination, the way other people react to what we say and do, our personal goals and hopes for the future. And those are other things that all come into play when we're thinking about our identity. So today, for an action item, I obviously have not thought about purposefully creating my identity. I just am who I am. And more so since my sudden cardiac arrest than before that, when I was pretty much doing what everybody else on the planet expected me to do, which is probably part of what led to the sudden cardiac arrest. But I'm going to do this right along with you today. I want us to think about what comes up when we say, okay, what is my identity? What are the first 3 things that come up for us? What are the 3 most important things that pop up? And share those in the comments below. Now, they're just what we're thinking right now. It doesn't mean that that's what they're going to be forever, because we do have the power to change our identity just by choosing what do we want our identity to be. What values, what goals, what personality traits do we want to emulate, and then just practice doing them. And as we practice doing them, we can claim them as our own, and we become a person of thinking for ourselves, integrity, high moral value, high standards, somebody that can be counted on, whatever's important to you. So 3 things pop into your mind first. I'd probably be a single white grandma or something, but there's way more to me than that, right? There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things to each and every one of us. So that's our little discussion on identity. Love to know your thoughts on this topic and what you've done in terms of working on your identity. I know that there's a lot of talk in the business world and online these days about create your personal brand. And I will say the way to stand out and be unique in a world of billions of people is to be yourself. Be 100% authentically you. My motto for a long time has been be loving, love being, be you. And it's still that. It's going to be that till the day I die, because I understand how important it is that we just be ourselves. And it doesn't matter what anybody else outside of us thinks. The only thing that matters is what we think. And is being ourselves makes us feel good, then we need to be that. That's our identity. That's the identity we need to adopt, whether other people agree with it or not. That's it. Have an awesome day. Questions, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow. And I think we're talking about core mental values, but I'm not positive, so don't get mad at me if we talk about something else. All right. Have a great day.